Hello, everyone, and welcome to our spooky middle grade summer spooktacular. We are super excited to join you this evening, and there are many fun things coming up, like some terrifying science, art demonstrations, a special musical performance, and so much more. But let's get started. We're going to go around and introduce everyone who is here. So I'm going to make us all big on the screen. And let's find out who's here. Let's head over first to Ash. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your books if you have them on hand.
Hi, I am Ash Van Otterloo. I actually have everything but my books on hand, but I'm the author of Cattywampus, which is a good, fun witch story, witches and zombies. Thank you, Sarah. You're a lifesaver. And also this fall, I have a book called The Touch of Ruckus, which is about ghost hunting in the woods, and it's so much fun, and I'm so excited to share it with you.
Thank you so much for being here. We are so excited. Let's go to, I think I see marshmallows. Are those marshmallows, Adrianna?
No, they're not. They're Merenguitos, they're meringues, which is what we will be making today. But I'm Adrianna Cuevas, and I channeled Ash's energy and got everything set up except my books. So I am the author of The Total Eclipse of Nestor Lopez, which came out last summer. And then my next book, Cuba in My Pocket, comes out September 21st.
Excellent. And we have two special guests joining us. Sarah Cannon, why don't you tell us about yourself?
I will. I'm bummed I don't have Adriana's book in front of me too, but I just loaned it to a kid, so that's why I don't have it. So I'm Sarah Cannon, and I'm the author of two books. One of them is Oddity, and the other is Twist. They both have lots of spooky monsters and madcap adventures, so I hope that you will read them.
Oh, yes. We will definitely be reading them immediately. Cynthia, why don't you tell us about yourself and your books? Cynthia's coming from the ghostly realm. Well, we cannot hear her.
I'm here now. All right. Cynthia Reeg, author of From the Grave and Into the Shadowlands, and like Sarah said, lots of monsters, lots of madcap adventures, so spooky fun for everyone.
Excellent. And I'm your host for this evening, Kim Ventrella, author of several books, including Skeleton Tree, Bone Hollow, and my two latest that came out last year, The Secret Life of Sam and Hello, Future Me. So today we are going to get right to some spooky action, and we're going to be doing a little spooky show and tell before we get to Tania del Rio's amazing art demo. She's going to show us how to draw a zombie, so stay tuned for that. But first of all, I want to see some spooky objects from your house. And I know that Sarah has one right behind her, so let's get a look at that one.
Cool.
So can you tell us about your pumpkin, since we cannot hear you again? The ghosts have taken over.
I apologize. I keep muting because I am naturally talky. This is my little buddy who hangs out with me when I do calls, and he definitely does not move, doesn't get any closer when I'm looking away, none of that. He just hangs out and lights up and has excellent dental hygiene.
Oh, very, very cool. Ash, do you have a spooky object you would like to share?
I do. I have a 3D printed horse head because I couldn't afford a real horse head. So my roots are Welsh, and on Christmas, something that Welsh people do is take a horse skull and they put it on a long pole with a bunch of ribbons, and then they go to people's houses and they ask them riddles. And if they get the riddle right, then someone, I'm not sure who, someone in the situation gets a treat out of it. So it's like trick-or-treating on Christmas with horse skulls. So there you go.
That's my favorite type of trick-or-treating. I think I'm going to try that this year. Adrianna is on the big screen. What do you have to share with us?
I forgot my object, but I'm thinking now, since I'm in my kitchen, one object that has got to be haunted has to probably be like my mop that's in the pantry right here, because apparently, according to everyone in my family, it's a ghost and doesn't exist. So that would be my object.
Wow, that served double duty right there.
Exactly.
All right, Cynthia, let's see what spooky item you have for us.
Okay, so I don't know if you can see these very well, but I live in a 170-year-old house. And at one point in time, a doctor also ran his office out of here. And when some new construction was done, I'm getting it the wrong way. These particular bottles were uncovered. As you can see, they're quite old and dirt crusted. And so I have no idea, who was taking what medicine or whatnot. But apparently some of the patients didn't survive because I also have some type of embalming table in my basement that I couldn't bring that up for the session, but
Wow, you're gonna have to set up your camera by your embalming table for next time.
First I have to take my Christmas boxes off of it. So.
And I love this skeleton gloves. Well, I had a lot to choose from in my house because some of you have met Mabel, my creepy doll head. So she's hanging out. But I decided to get nostalgic. So if you want to see a glimpse of where I used to work, and maybe you'll find some spooky items there, I have a miniature that looks exactly like my old desk at the library when I was the children's department manager. And you can go in really close and see some skulls with party hats. And you probably can't see, but there's some skull art and a skull screensaver. And the person who made this for me even made it so that these little drawers over here open up and all of the things that were in my drawer at the time are in there. And these are like our summer reading bags that we gave, to kids for summer reading. Everything that we gave to them is in there, like the little stickers and the reading logs. It's super detailed, so you can kind of get a glimpse of my spooky workspace that I used to have. So anyway, that's a little show and tell, and let's get straight to our first talent with author Tania del Rio of the Warren the 13th series. She's going to show us a very cool art demonstration, especially for those people who love zombies. So here we go.
Greetings, spooky readers. My name is Tania del Rio, and I am the author of Warren the 13th. And today, I am going to show you how I draw a zombie. I always like to start with the eyes. So let's start with one big, bulging, creepy eye. Couple nostrils. This will just be an eye socket because his eye will be hanging out of it. Now we're going to do some creepy teeth. He still has a bit of hair from when he was a human. He's hungry for brains. Here's his neck. We're going to give him a nice little tank top because it's the summer and it's hot out. Spooky summer. This looks like a shirt, but it's actually his skin ripping away from his bone. He's saying hello to all his spooky friends. I'm going to draw a brain on his shirt because he's styling. Some finishing touches. little bit of drool. And there you have it, zombie.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, just having a little snack in between. But we're back. And so that was an amazing zombie from Tania del Rio. I hope everyone at home will try to draw their own zombie. And now we're going to talk about what spooky middle grade novel we are dying, hopefully not literally, to read this summer. So let's head over first and hear from Ash. What are you looking forward to reading this summer?
Everything. I want to read them all. I'm really excited about my air conditioner just came on and blew my list away, so I'm going to do this by memory, and maybe you guys can help me. I'm really excited about Ghost Girl. And can you help me out with the author's last name, please? Ali.
Malinenko.
Thank you so much. I'm always afraid that I'm going to get it wrong, but the cover is absolutely beautiful. I'm a big fan of ghosts, so I'm really excited to read that one.
Yes, that is such an awesome choice. And you're right, there are too many to choose from, but we're going to make Adrianna also give us a recommendation.
I am a huge fan of graphic novels, so I am planning on reading Witches of Brooklyn because I've had this on my reading list forever, and it just seems to keep getting like shuffled down. And so I really am dying to read this because another book in the series is coming out soon. So I want to read this one before the next one comes out.
Ooh, love it. Can't wait to read it. And Cynthia, what about you?
Well, this one just came out from our wonderful Samantha Clark, Arrow. So that's number one on my list. And then also I've had this one, Miss Ellicott's School for the Magically Minded by Sage Blackwood, who I'm taking a class with, and I just adore her. So I'm going to be reading that one too.
Ooh, excellent. We're adding so many books to our TBR list. Sarah Cannon, what are you looking forward to?
So right at the moment, I'm reading Long Lost by Jacqueline West, who's another spooky author. Really enjoying that. I have a series that I'm not done with that Adrianna made me think of that's called The Girl from the Other Side. So that one's very like graphic novel-y, and I need to finish it. And also one of the ones that keeps slipping down to the bottom of my stack is Scary Stories for Young Foxes. So I promised myself this summer, again, this is another one that has another book coming out before too long. So I got to get on it.
Yes, so many great options. And I don't have the books with me right now, which is so tragic. But I just finished Josephine Against the Sea by Shakira Born, which is an amazing read, especially if you love Caribbean folklore and some types of sea creatures that are very nefarious. That's an excellent one. And if you love scary short stories, Josh Allen has a brand new collection coming in August that I'm really looking forward to. He's great at turning ordinary objects like a bowl of oatmeal into your worst nightmare. And that one is Only If You Dare. It glows in the dark. So I'm really looking forward to that one. But now I am thrilled because we are heading over to Adrianna for a very spooky cooking demonstration.
So I picked this recipe for our summer celebration because you only have to heat your oven to 200 degrees to make this. And so it doesn't get too warm, which here in Texas where I'm at, you really don't want to tempt fate and heat up your kitchen too much. So we are making spooky ghost merenguitos. They look like this. And I make these all the time because they're really easy to make, and you can do a lot by adding food coloring. You can add different extracts to change the flavor, but it's something I grew up eating a ton, like for dessert and snack, and they're just simple to do. But I had this idea where I wanted to try something new, and I thought, well, what would happen if I put a Hershey's Kiss in the center of the merenguito and then put the meringue around it? Well, what happens is that you end up with a ghost with diarrhea, because I did that and like the Hershey's Kiss kind of came out the back of it. So you are more than welcome to do that because it still tastes good, but your ghosts look like they maybe have a little bit of an intestinal problem. But I encourage you, go for it. Put Hershey's Kisses if you want. Put them in the freezer first before you put them in the meringue because that might help, I hope. But anyways, what you're going to do to make your merenguitos, preheat your oven to 200 degrees. You're going to take 4 egg whites and put them in your mixer. You should have a whisk attachment on your mixer and you'll mix it up till it gets kind of foamy. And then you'll add 1 cup of sugar very slowly. And then you just, hopefully you have like a stand mixer because it's best to just walk away because it takes about 10 minutes of it mixing on high speed for it to finally turn into the meringue that you want. I went ahead in this batch, I colored it green because I figured we could make zombie meringues in this batch rather than the ghost ones I made yesterday. So once you have your meringue set, so like I said, it should take about 10 minutes to finally whip up. You want, when you pull the whisk out, your meringue mixture should kind of be stiff, like it'll stay kind of pointed up when you pull the whisk out. If you don't have a pastry bag, it actually does not matter at all. You can just put all your meringue into a Ziploc bag, seal it up, and then cut the corner off of it. You don't need anything special. I do have a pastry bag with a round tip that I like to use. It's always easiest for me to put my pastry bag in a cup when I'm trying to fill it. So I do that. And you'll just put your meringue in your pastry bag. Like so. I'll just put a little bit. Once you do that, you want to pipe it out onto your baking sheet. You don't have to space things out too much because this isn't going to expand at all, so you can actually put them pretty close together. For the ghosts, what I did was I just made 1 circle and then a little bit smaller and then smaller again. For our zombies, we could probably just do 1 big glob and then it would be okay. So you'll fill it up and like I said, don't worry about spacing it out at all. This part was best not to do live because these bake for 3 hours. And so we would be sitting here enjoying our company for a while. But you will put these in the oven, bake them at 200 for 2 hours. Once 2 hours is up, turn your oven off and then just crack the door a little bit and let them sit in there for 1 more hour because that's what gets them really nice and crispy. I will say I've found don't make these on a day when it's raining. Like if it's really humid outside where you're at, don't try to make meringue because it'll end up really chewy and not that great. Right now in Texas, it's perfect meringue making weather. So once it's all baked and everything's done, you have your meringues like this. I went ahead and I have markers that you can actually use. They're like food safe. My son argued that Crayola is supposed to be non-toxic regardless, so you should be able to use anything, but I decided to play it safe, and I actually got markers that are meant for like cookie decorating, and I just went ahead and drew my little ghost face on there. Like I said, you might want to put a more shocking face on it if you decide to make the intestinal discomfort meringues with the Hershey's Kisses. But those are meringues. Like I said, play around with adding food coloring, play around with adding different extracts. Orange extract is really good in meringues. And so it's a really good summer treat, simple to make. And there you go. So that's ghost meringues.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I know that Adrianna might have to go back to the ghostly realms soon, but that was an amazing cooking demo. So definitely we'll be heading off to make those immediately. But right now we're going to be sharing some real life spooky stories that happened to us as children. And after that, get ready for a spooky reading from Ghost Girl author Ali Malinenko. So first of all, our spooky real life stories. Let's head over to Sarah Cannon.
Ooh, I knew you were going to ask me first. So my real life spooky story is that I think my grandparents' basement was haunted. It was super creepy and super dark, but it was also like the biggest space where we could play indoors and not knock over fragile things and like bother anybody. But there was one of those big creepy sump pumps in the corner where there's like a lid on it. And then it's like all dark and dank and drippy in there. And we would play ping pong and the ball would go fall in there. And somebody would have to be brave enough to go and get it back. And you're never going to convince me otherwise. There was something that lived in there because I heard it and it was so creepy. So that's my spooky story.
Wow, that is very creepy. Let's head over to Ash to see if you can top that creepy story.
Well, this creepy story is, I don't know if it's definitely creepy instead of spooky, but I grew up in the South, and in the South, we have something that we very politely refer to as palmetto bugs, but what they are gigantic roaches that are like that long. They're really big, and they're like, I don't know, they can get to be very, very large, and unfortunately, they fly. So sometimes when you're outside at night, you'll hear buzzing, and it might be like a June bug or it might be a palmetto bug. So my brother was terrified of them, like very, very scared. I hated them too, but he was especially terrified. And so one night he was just determined that one had gotten on him. He was like, it's on me, it's on me. And I'm like, it's not on you. There's not one on you. And so we checked him all over. There was not one. He went to bed, and I went to go and say good morning the next morning, and I got up and I said, good morning, let's go eat breakfast. So he sits up and I said, don't turn around. And laying in his bed, absolutely squished, was a very gigantic palmetto bug. And I said, don't look, just don't turn around, don't look. And so we went out of the room, and my mom went in and cleaned it up, and it was very gross. Definitely qualifies as creepy.
Oh boy, I know all about those because I went to college in New Orleans and they have tons of those. And this is not my childhood story, but real life story from college is similar thing happened. I was sleeping on an air mattress and I woke up, and it wasn't a palmetto bug, but it was one of the giant roaches that's like this big, and it was on my bare leg, and I swiped it off. And for 6 months after that, I slept with a study lamp blaring in my face because they're afraid of the light. And so it was really uncomfortable, but that's how I slept for 6 months after that. Oh, wow. So Cynthia, why don't you share your spooky story?
So another creepy nighttime story, a young adult story as opposed to small child. But I had a strange friend who worked at a department store, and when they were getting ready to throw away some mannequins, at one point he decided to play a practical joke on me. And one evening when I was out, my parents were out, my younger brother was in the house, and my friend brought in a mannequin and set it up with of course, my younger brother's permission to play this joke on me in my closet. And so that night when I get home about 11 o'clock and I go to push open my closet door, there's this man. Yeah. So of course I screamed, and then my mom came in and my mom screamed, and everybody's yeah. So he was disposed of, and actually I took a hand off the mannequin and took it to my friend and said, yeah, thanks a lot. So anyway, that was my creepy story.
Oh, excellent. Well, and I see that Miss Mancini is in love with my new friend here. Doesn't have a name yet, so I'll let Miss Nikki name this little fellow. But yes, I do have a creepy story from when I was a child. So I used to have night terrors and sleep paralysis and all kinds of nightmares when I was a kid. And so I had bunk beds, but it was just me. And I slept in the bottom bunk, and I didn't want to see out because I was scared I would see something. So I had this Ninja Turtle comforter that I used to like build a wall around the bunk bed so I couldn't see out. But this one night I woke up and the room was freezing cold, and you could smell this weird dusty smell in the air, and a green light was like peeking in through the edges of the comforter. And I was like, I'm not going to look. But I looked, and it was just this very vivid image, kind of wobbling in green light, of this woman dressed like turn of the century dress, holding the hand of a little boy, and they had a little dog on a leash, and that was it. And I closed the thing, and I couldn't fall asleep for the rest of the night. And then when it was morning, the green light was gone, but the dusty smell was still there. And so that was a very vivid thing that I saw once when I was a kid. But now, why don't we turn from real life spooky happenings to a reading from the upcoming novel Ghost Girl.
Hey, spooky friends. My name's Allie. I wanted to share a little bit from my upcoming book, Ghost Girl, which is coming out this August. This is the story of Z, her best friend Elijah, and her bully turned buddy Nellie, who, after a big storm comes to town and lots of spooky things start happening, need to sort out what's going on with their families. So I'm just going to read you a quick little section. Take my glasses off. So this scene, Z's been having trouble sleeping, and she's awake, and it's very late at night. So here we go. Z picked her water glass up off the nightstand, empty. Her throat was dry. She felt an overwhelming need to go downstairs and check to make sure the front door was locked. She squeezed the glass in her hand, trying to stop the shaking. She was going to get water, check the lock, and then go back to sleep. As she left the room and climbed down the steps, she thought, I used to be scared of nothing. What's happened? She crossed the living room, jumping as another blast of lightning lit up the room. She got to the kitchen and turned on the faucet, refilling her glass, which she gulped down, followed by another. She double-checked to make sure the door was locked, pulling on the handle until it rattled. She carried her water glass through the living room as thunder rattled the window and another burst of lightning lit up the living room, as if someone had turned on the lights. And that was when she saw it. Eyes, wide and white and shining, and then a mouth, open. Long, ragged hair, a mud-stained face. A woman caked in wet mud and moss was huddled near the arm of the couch, staring at Z. The water glass clattered to the floor, and Z screamed and screamed and screamed, unable to stop herself. She was sure she was going to scream forever until her throat went raw and cracked open.
Oh, excuse me. Anyway, let's continue our spooky evening. We're going to talk now about our favorite monsters. And after that, get ready for some spooky science with Stitcher's author, Lorien Lawrence. So I would love to know if everyone has a favorite monster. And let's start with Cynthia, because I know you write all about monsters. Cynthia's ghostly again. We cannot hear her.
I have to say, of course, Frankenstein as a favorite one, since he's a main character here. But then I also really love Dracula, and I think that probably dates me back to watching Dark Shadows on TV, and Dracula was the main character, and he was so creepy and cool and all that. So I'd say Dracula.
Ooh, yes, some classic monsters there. Ash, would you pick the classics?
I have to say that I have a really big soft spot for local monsters and cryptids. So my favorite is probably West Virginia's Mothman. So Mothman is like a giant, like a really big man with moth wings and antenna and like glowing eyes. And before big tragedies, Mothman just shows up and doesn't talk, but his presence kind of alerts people that something really bad is about to happen and they should get prepared to protect themselves. And I just love that. He's like a monster with a big heart, and I like that.
Yes, I love it. It's adorable. Sarah, monsters with big hearts also, or truly scary?
You know, like, yes, honestly, like Ash and I agree about a lot of stuff, so this is not surprising. But in Twist, the monster on the cover, the Howler, is kind of loosely inspired by the Ozark Howler, which was kind of indigenous to that region of Oklahoma where I grew up. But I also just really love monsters that are super gleeful about being obnoxiously bad. And so if you go back to like some of the old school movies like Labyrinth, right, where you've got all of these Henson-inspired monsters and goblins like running around and just being really obnoxious and super proud of it, like that's my happy place.
Oh, excellent. Yes, I agree with all of these, all great monsters. I also like when you get to kind of see the softer side of monsters. So that's what I do with the Grim Reaper in Skeleton Tree. You get to meet Princey, who's kind of the softer side of that character. And actually, I brought more show and tell. So I used to make these cute little monsters, kind of like sad ghosts or with little hats and whatnot. So I do like to play around with things that are usually scary and try to turn them into something cute. So let's head over now to Lorien Lawrence, who has a very creepy science experiment for us.
Hello, I'm Lorien Lawrence, author of the Fright Watch series. This is the first book called The Stitchers. The second book, The Collectors, will be out in August. And I am here today to show you a spooky summer science experiment. So what we're going to do is we are going to make an ordinary balloon like this blow up magically using baking soda and vinegar. So I have already taken an empty recycled water bottle and I have filled it about halfway, about 1 cup's worth of just white distilled vinegar. And then I took one of these handy dandy Halloween balloons and I put about a tablespoon of baking soda. This part was a little tricky. I had to use a funnel and hold it open and pour it in. But once you do that, you're gonna let it sit. What I hope will happen, my spooky friends, is that when I take this balloon and put it on the water bottle, I'm going to shake the baking soda down so that when it hits the vinegar, it should magically inflate our jack-o'-lantern balloon. So this is my 3rd attempt at a spooky science experiment so far this summer. Let's see if we are successful. So you just put it on as so, and then I'm going to tilt our friend up, and without any air, we're hoping that Mr. Jack-o'-lantern expands. Ah! Oh my gosh. Ah! Oh my gosh. Okay. Whoa! I really hope this doesn't pop. All right. With that, friends, have fun trying this at home. Happy Summerween. Bye.
I can't wait for everyone to try that at home. It looks super fun. I personally am a huge fan of the baking soda and vinegar. Having worked in the library, we did that a whole bunch. But we are now going to show off some of our artwork, maybe spooky artwork, that we did when we were kids, if people have brought it with them, because we're getting ready for a special art demonstration from Cynthia Reeg. So I will get us started. I have brought my first book ever that I wrote in 6th grade, and you can see it has a tragedy mask on the front. It's called the Wednesday Morning Club, like morning with a U. So it's not spooky, but it was a very sad story about these 5 adults that all lost somebody they loved, and they formed this club to talk about their feelings and their grief. So that was my artwork from 6th grade, and my story that wasn't too spooky, but definitely kind of a tragic tale. So does anyone else have any artwork they would like to share? Let's head over to Ash.
Well, sadly, I was not a prolific artist as a kid. I like to paint now, but I was too hyper. But I wrote a very tragic limerick one time that I think I remember from memory, so I can share that. There once was an old lady from Grant who always overwatered her plants. The plants said, "We're stressed out, please in a drought," but out with the hose she went. And it was unfortunately about my neighbor who killed her plants. So that's it. That's the, I guess words are art.
Wow, I cannot believe you remember that. I don't remember things I wrote today, so that is pretty awesome. Sarah, let's see if you have any artwork to share with us.
So I do not, because as some of you know, I moved around the country a lot as a kid. So I really liked to draw, but a lot of that stuff got lost in the shuffle, and my parents kept moving after I grew up and moved out. And so sometimes I'm like, whatever happened to that? And they're like, yeah, it's gone. So goodbye childhood memories. But I will say that one of my greatest achievements was playing Pictionary with my extended family. And I was trying to depict a wolf, and my aunt kept yelling, "Horse, horse. And so I was putting these big, like dagger-like teeth on it, which I thought would make it really obvious that we were dealing with a carnivore, and got mad horse instead. So it's possible that beauty was in the eye of the beholder when it comes to my art, and that I'm better off sticking to writing.
Well, we're going to get to Cynthia's art in a moment, but I just wanted to remind everyone that coming up, we have several fun things, an original song from Ash Van Otterloo, as well as a demonstration on how to make a backpack that you might need if you're trapped in a horror novel or a movie. But Cynthia, did you want to give us a preface to your video? Oh, we still can't hear you.
Keep forgetting to do that. It's about using your iPad to draw with, and so you're not going to be able to see that very well, are you?
I see a witchy
Okay.
character.
Okay. And I'm not nearly as good as Tanya is, but you know, for the just average person out there that wants to play around with your iPad, it's everybody's got this app in your notes, so you can just open up a blank note and you'll be able to start drawing. And you pull up a palette and all, pens, markers down at the bottom, but we can watch on the video, I guess, and get a little explanation. And if there's any questions or whatnot, then I can take it from there.
Absolutely. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Reeg, author of From the Grave and Into the Shadowlands. I'm here today to show you how to draw your own monsters using your iPad and your Notes app, which is built into it. You can use a stylus like this, or you can just use your finger. Go into your notes and open a blank note. Click on the circle with the little pen tip there, and you will pull up a panel of pens and pencils and markers and an eraser and a color palette to choose from. And then you start your drawing. When you're ready to color it in, you use your different selection of colors at the bottom and choose whichever one you'd like. Here I've got Frank all colored in with his scars and his neck bolts and his t-shirt that says "Carry On." If you need any help along the way, there's lots of fun books you can check out at the library to give you some ideas, or just create a monster of your own. So scary on. Happy reading and happy drawing.
Excellent. So we are all ready now to draw Frankenstein, zombies, all kinds of monsters. And I see in the chat we have a fan of the Jersey Devil, so maybe someone will draw that as well. But now we're going to have a very cool craft demonstration from Sarah Cannon, but I want to let her tell us a little bit more about this backpack first.
This is so important. I can't even explain to you how vital it is to have a backpack if you're going to be involved in any spooky adventures. Any artifact you find, you're going to have a way to carry it while still having your hands free to climb rocks and all of these kinds of things. You have to have a place where you can hide clues or supplies for the things that you're sneaking out at night to do that you're not supposed to do. And also, if a monster comes after you, you need something between you and the monster for it to grab that's not you. So backpacks have a high mortality rate and are also very important, is what I'm saying. So I'm going to show you how to make one. Hi, spooky readers. I am going to show you how to make a string backpack out of the same kind of floss that you use to make friendship bracelets, a spool of ribbon, and 2 bandanas. Ready? Let's go. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut the ribbon because this is going to be your straps. So to figure out how long it is or how long you want it, you're just going to drape it over your shoulders like that. And you're going to let it hang down on both sides of you to about your hips. And that's where you're going to cut it. Ah, see, it's cut. And then you're going to match this up to the ribbon on the roll. And you're going to make a second one this length and cut it again like that. So I'm going to lay these both out facing each other like that and all lined up. You're going to take your ribbon straps and you're going to put them in between the two layers. So I'm going to fold it back. I'm going to dump them in there and make sure that you have one end from each ribbon and not two ends from the same ribbon, if that makes sense. So I'm going to spread it out like that, and I can see I've got this loop and I've got one end from each ribbon in my hands. These are going to be inside the backpack, and they're going to stick out at the bottom edge right down there. You're going to sew across the bottom, and then you're going to sew up the sides and sew your ends in on both sides and go almost to the top. Okay, so now at this point you can see that I've sewn up 3 sides of this. You can see the bottom, you can see the right and the left, but I have not gone all the way to the top. If you look up here, you'll see on both sides I stopped and I left a couple inches. And here is why. Because inside there, I've still got those 2 ribbon loops, right? There they both are. One of these loops is going to come toward you, and the other one is going to go under the flap on the other side. I'm going to tuck the ribbon inside, 1 loop on each side, and fold that bandana down. And I'm going to sew across it with the ribbon inside, but I'm not going to sew the end shut, right? Because you can see the ribbon's coming out the end, and that's where I'm going to be able to pull on it, right? So I'm not going to sew the end shut. I'm just going to sew a row right here through only this bandana, not through the other one, and not through the ribbon either, okay? All right, so here's what you end up with. You've got your inside out bag still, and I'm trying to get far enough back that you can actually see this. So you can see they're sewn in at the bottom, and I made my little pocket at the top, and I sewed my ribbons in, and you can see them kind of coming out the sides there, but they're inside these casings. And now I can turn it right side out. So when I do, da-da-da, I've got a full-on string backpack here. Ta-da!
That is totally awesome. Now we will all be prepared for our next adventure. The next time we're trapped out in the woods in the middle of the night, we will be so ready. So I hope everyone has enjoyed the show so far, because we're getting ready for a very special treat, an original song by Ash Van Otterloo. And I'm going to let them tell us more about the song and the origins for it, because it was inspired by a book, wasn't it?
It is. It's actually a song that's never been heard before, because it's from my new book that's coming up, A Touch of Ruckus. So the story goes that the main character, Tennessee, has a grandfather who used to sit around a campfire every Halloween. And sorry, my ukulele player has not noticed that he's not supposed to be playing right now. Anyway, they sit around and he sings the song to them, and the people shout out things that they're afraid of, and he makes up a verse on the spot, and they kind of like make a game of conquering their fear that way. So that's what we're going to do today. Hopefully. I had to write the melody especially for us, so we'll see how it goes. It's been a while since I played piano and sang. So I'm kind of riffing a little bit on Poor Unfortunate Souls because it's such a great melody. So we're doing a little. So this is how we'll do it. The verses go like this, and I'll show you one as an example. And then if you want to say a comment, or if you want to say something that you're afraid of, you can put it down here in the comments, and I will do my very best to turn it into a song verse. However, no fun saying something like jelly beans. That's not fair. Okay, here we go. When that October storm comes howling down the river, what will the waves wash up next? It'll wash up green bones, click clack, they'll follow you home. That's what the waves wash up next. When that October storm comes howling down the river, what will the waves wash up next? It'll wash up an angry witch, and she'll chase you with a switch. That's what the waves wash up next. Are you peeking? When that, oh no! I'm getting lots of suggestions. Oh, these are terrifying. When that October storm comes howling down the river, what will the waves wash up next? They'll wash up a haunted doll, and it'll chase you down the hall. That's what the waves wash up next. Oh no. Kim's picture Beulah. Okay. When that October storm comes howling down the river, what will the waves wash up next? It'll wash up a hairy spider, and it'll wiggle and jiggle and squiggle inside her. That's what the waves wash up next. Do you have one, Maya? I have a watcher here. Do you have a suggestion? What are you afraid of? We're thinking. The dentist? Not the dentist? You'll wash up a dentist named Ruth, and it'll yank out all your tooths. That's what the waves will wash up next. I think that's it, unless we have more requests.
Well, I know Miss Nikki's really scared of Beulah, but other than that...
Nothing rhymes with Beulah, Miss Nikki.
Come on, Miss Nikki, come on. That was such an amazing song. I have to get my skeleton hands out now to applaud.
Oh, thank you, helper.
Yay, yes, thanks to the helper or helpers. I don't know if there was more than one back there. Well, that was an amazing song.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. Do you want to come on and take a bow? Or yes, we'll give you a round of applause. Excellent.
Yay.
All the skeleton applause. Well, we want to thank everyone so much for tuning in tonight. And just a reminder, you can learn about all of the authors and spooky books. And if you're a teacher, you can even book us for a totally free spooky author visit featuring 4 spooky authors, all at spookymiddlegrade.com. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel because we have a lot of cool things coming up, including our monthly book club live discussions. And so as we're heading on out, I'm going to put up a reminder about this month's book, Long Lost by Jacqueline West, and our discussion will actually be next week. And yes, I see some people would love to have us, so definitely head over to spookymiddlegrade.com. We would love to visit your classroom. So as we head out, I think last time we did one of these shows, we all kind of screamed goodbye, but today we're going to howl like werewolves. So let's all unmute ourselves and we're going to howl like werewolves as we head out. Here we go. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Ow!